Heenan.
Instead of just putting it in a locker and backstage. Like,
right.
Why do you got to bring it out?
So the action starts immediately. I definitely high hopes for this match.
I did too.
Two WCW alums going at it. You know that you're going to get great work rate out of it. Very quickly, though, and this becomes a trope of the Russo era, it takes all of the, I think, a minute and a half before we're on the outside, which becomes common with all these matches. We wind up on the outside frequently tonight, and this one is no different. Where are we at with this? Okay. Eddie's using he gets him on the outside, uses the stairs and the guardrails, but Saturn pushes Eddie into the stairs, then lands a power slam in the ring. They're just flying all over the place when it seems like early. What did you want to get to in this one? Because I know you were excited.
This was the first match I was really getting into, and then I was taken immediately out of it, not so much by the choreography of the match, but the fans. The fans started... I think they were booing this match, or they were
boring chants.
They were boring chants.
Boring chants.
And I just lost my shit. Like, I almost spit on my television. I was, furious, because this was, the first good thing we've seen.
Oh, my God.
And the fans just shit all over it.
Yeah.
And these guys were working really hard. Granted, it wasn't, psychologically making a whole lot of sense, because there was a lot of catch-as-catch-can wrestling.
Yes, that
didn't make, that didn't quite flow right. That wouldn't make sense in that kind of kayfabe mindset of, one move lead to the other kind of thing.
Right.
But still, it was something. It was exciting. Well,
it was fascinating because Eddie's he's working Saturn's wrist a lot in the beginning. Saturn's working Eddie's knee, which it makes sense. That's the frog splash is his move. He can't go to the top rope. I mean, decent psychology. Decent. It's not, we're not up north with it here, folks, or anything. But still, it's. But
decent. We'd like to be.
It's somewhere in the. Well, do you think that potentially how another pay-per-view may be later on down the road at WCW, that some of these people in Vegas were come see this pay-per-view? It wasn't like people that wanted to come. This was almost like. Because there seemed to be a lot of apathetic people even at the beginning.
Sure. WCW had a real problem with comping tickets around this time, too.
Especially in Vegas. Well, Vegas. Which is not like...
It's not a wrestling capital.
No.
WWF did WrestleMania 9 there.
Right.
I remember that. And that's the only other time I remember WWF
how many
going
people were there? It's...
9,000.
9,000, exactly.
And it was an outdoor event. I love that WrestleMania. I don't care what anyone says.
Sure. The look of it is great.
It looks so cool.
Yeah.
But still, it's not a wrestling town.
It's the MGM Grand. So the only people you're going to be getting are drunk casino tourists.
Sure.
That's really it.
And you want to fill seats.
A young Skip Sheffield is not showing up to the...
Thank you for booing Roman Reigns.
I think he was working at the barbecue place and couldn't afford. No.
I was reading The Secret, and I was becoming positive. Never mind. All right. Big spot here. I love Saturn nails a top rope Northern Lights suplex on Eddie. A releasing Northern Lights. Thank God he didn't hold on to it. That would have been rough.
He doesn't have any hair to support him.
No. That's why maybe that's the bump that knocked his eyes out of place. I'm so sorry. It's so rough when you start to notice it.
Anyway.
Ric Flair.
So here we go. Mr. Arrive Blade Leave decides to show up. And this is another typical trope of Russo booking,
right,
where we just refuse clean finishes.
Yeah.
Just absolutely refuse to do it. So go on with Ric Flair.
Flair attacks Eddie Guerrero, which calls for the bell. And what's funny is we see Kidman try to make the save, but no, Ric Flair eats him as well with the
assault.
I believe it's a crowbar. He does come out with a crowbar.
I told you, a crowbar.
Yeah, it's the weapon of the evening.
But here's what's great. Tori Wilson tries to get mixed up in things, but Space Mountain himself dances around her and kisses her right on the lips. It's a hilarious spot. Because he holds it for 10 seconds, and then of course there's that awkward. Oh, maybe I kind of enjoyed that.
I enjoy being raped.
It's so funny. Ric Flair
gets that rapey vibe from her. I think she wants it.
Ric Flair was so into this bit that he forgets to go get the Rolex from the
Rolex. Fuck that too. It's not real.
He forgets to go get his watch from the table.
He
walks all the way up the ramp, and then it's like Doug Dillinger's like, "Hey, Rick, you forgot your watch." And so he woos.
He can woo right back. It's fine. Yeah, it's not like people are going to be losing.
He was getting ready to go pawn it anyway.
Yeah.
We've got action in the back. Goldberg mounted over Sid, beating the shit out of him. Sid is busted open big time, screaming, "Is that all you got?" over and over.
You
want another?
Good
Marv
God.
arrives at the set.
Good God Almighty. He's getting color in a backstage segment that I swear...
It's bad.
It's already bad, and it's only going to get worse.
Austin first blood match with Undertaker.
And I love it because it's Sid, softball Sid is in his polo here in the back.
Looking for his knife.
Oh my gosh. But we don't...
Here we go.
And then Buff Bagwell's...
Buff Daddy!
Buff Bagwell's music hits. It's time for a blockbuster promo. Buff has got a problem with the writers from up north and Jeff Jarrett. In fact, he wants to shove his foot up his ass. Everyone likes to do that tonight. Everyone wants to just shove it up their ass.
The 90s, proctology was really big.
He's angry with Jeff Jarrett, and who wouldn't be with old Slapnuts? Because, well, what does he do? He comes in and just he hits mid-card guys with guitars or innocent women, one or the other.
Right.
Oh, gosh. So where we end up with this is Slapnuts himself comes running down.
Mom wouldn't let me buy that T-shirt, by the way. I wanted that T-shirt.
Don't piss me off.
Don't piss me off.
Jeff Jarrett runs out. He's heard enough of the Buff Bagwell promos, speaking for all of us.
Which makes him face.
He runs out with the guitar, but then what else? But who else runs out? But don't call him Double L. This is the total package, not Lex Luger. Total package.
The total package.
The total package runs out. Why? Good question that you may ask. Why last Monday, and of course the debut episode of Russo and Ferrara, what happens? But we see poor Miss Elizabeth laid out backstage with the guitar hanging around her neck, like she has just been decapitated by old Slapnuts. That's the thing. You're led to believe that is Jeff Jarrett, and that's what makes the heel total package, who is kind of doing a face thing here by running in on the supreme heel Jeff Jarrett. Whatever. We know how this spot ends, and it's atrocious because the wizard of weaponry here. Lex Luger gets the guitar. He goes to hit Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett, he's that wily veteran, gets out of the way.
True ring general.
Jesus, Buff Bagwell eats the worst guitar shot since. Was it Jake
the Snake Roberts
from Honky Tonk?
So now, remind me how this went.
Jesus.
How did he hit him with this guitar? Because I have it written down that it looks awful.
Well, here we have on the replay back and to the left. You can clearly see Buff Bagwell's brain flying, but right there with the bass. Now, if you've never seen a guitar, they have these long necks that attach to this body, and the part of the neck attached to the body is generally pretty firm because that's what holds the weight. And this is what hit Buff in the head, and the guitar didn't shatter, turning into the cork board that it is.
The sound that it makes is so rough. I mean, it's one that no matter how bad the acoustics are in the arena, you're going to hear this blunt.
Yeah. So good for you, Luger.
That's right. And to this day,
and then
Buff Bagwell cannot watch
even better
out for cartoons.
Man, he completely misses the melon fucking head that Buff Bagwell has, but then manages to ace it on the turnbuckle. And the fucking guitar.
He Super Bowl Saturdays the turnbuckle. Oh,
and what's great is if you hear Jeff Jarrett going up the ramp, he says you can't even swing a guitar.
I missed that.
He says
I missed that.
You can't even swing a guitar. To the back. It's softball Sid Vicious. He's
getting stitches.
He's in full-on rage mode. But that's not all. Eddie Guerrero is nursing hurt ribs on the stairs.
What is that all about? He looks like he's near death. Sorry, Eddie. And I wrote it down. Why isn't Eddie receiving medical attention?
I know.
I mean, he's on the steps. He clearly looks like he's in pain. He's making a long distance call.
10-10-2-20.
No.
Oh, you didn't use 10-10-2-20, D'Lo Brown. You should have called me because you broke Jaws' fucking neck, you asshole.
And that's the thing about the Bagwell thing is he had only broken his neck a year before. Mm-hmm. That's what made that
Columbia.
In Columbia of all places. Rick Steiner with the botched bulldog from the top.
Well, they replayed that to death.
And later, in 2004, Buff Bagwell would have a run-in with me at a SmackDown taping, and it didn't turn out well for old Buff.
What?
Well, that'll be a story for another day, folks.
Yeah, I want to. It's a good one. You don't break in front of me at the beer line.
Up next, it's the mid-card
Holy
grudge match we've been waiting for.
This is match 4. Right? Okay, because we're going to have to talk about this, but keep going. We're at match 4.
It's the incredulous Brad Armstrong.
Yeah!
And take my breath away, I mean Berlin.
That's right. Now, see, what I loved about Brad Armstrong's attire is here he comes out in the oversized USA sweatshirt and no pants because it's only cold on top, baby. It's the only thing I can see with him. And I was a huge fan of the Candyman, Brad Armstrong, with his little peppermint tights that he wore in the early 90s and six-man tagging with Sting and Luger.
Right.
And then here he comes to fight the tyranny of Berlin.
And the thing is, like, this has been building. Like,
With
this
a
is
Y.
this is a
Is
mid
this a thing?
Yeah,
it was a thing. Like, for weeks, these guys were spatting with each other, getting involved in each other's matches.
He was the Jack Swagger of the 99 WCW.
And what's awesome here is the fact that, as we'd see with Goldust and later with John Morrison, we get some video effects on the entrance for Berlin. We get that little filter where it looks like it's like a French New Wave film all of a sudden with Dutch angles. As here comes.
Oh, it's a Guy Ritchie film. Here comes Berlin.
I can't remember if that was Berlin's actual music they're playing on the network.
See,
or
that-
if it's
Oh, it's Ode to
that's
Joy.
what-
Well, I can't.
Yeah,
It
It's
is.
Die Hard.
It's Die Hard.
It should have just been called Berlin Gruber. And
It's
embrace
Die
it.
Hard in a bad gimmick.
Look out! It's his sidekick.
I love that movie.
It's his sidekick, Swedish guy who comes back to life at the end.
But you see, here's the problem. This is built to be something pretty big for the mid card.
This is the problem?
Here's the problem. In this epic entrance for your big heel, you're talking all about Goldberg and Sid. That's all they did was talk about them during this entrance instead of, I don't know, recap a little bit more for the people at home so they can buy into this fucking guy who, I'm sorry, like, we know it's Alex Wright who can't escape the fact, or he, for whatever reason, he's always the rookie of the year from, like, what, 97 or whatever it was?
Oh,
to the almanac!
To the almanac. Keep talking.
All right, so the USA chants are there. We know they're going to be anytime, you're against anybody who's, well,
I
not.
hate that crap.
I mean, it's the easiest.
I do.
The easiest pandering in the book when you fucking get
Sergeant Solitude. That's,
Oh, gee.
The best is Brett Yoko at 9.
Oh.
And Bobby Heenan's like, he's Canadian, you idiots.
It's one of my favorite Chris Jericho like retorts in the middle of a match. And they're like, "Go back to Toronto, you go back to Toronto," and he goes.
I'm from Winnipeg, you idiot.
It's so funny, so funny. All right, so we know Alex Wright can work, Berlin, whatever. We know he can work, no doubt about it. But I'm sorry, even with Brad Armstrong, a guy who's a good, solid worker, this thing just it doesn't fly off the hinges like you think it could be if this is a grudge match, and. This thing lasts
It's short, isn't
it
it?
was like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 6?
It ends.
That's pretty long for this pay-per-view.
And so this is the big problem I have with the Lash LaRue thing too. Like the whole match is a build on Berlin because we know between these two guys, if one of them's going to go somewhere, it's not Brad Armstrong. I'm sorry.
Sure?
Yeah.
That USA
I'm sorry.
sweatshirt
He's not
screams merchandise.
the OR or I'm sorry OR. I can't even spell it.
The OR. I want to hear this.
No, he's not the Road Dogg. Okay, I'm just gonna can it. Move
The
on.
ROADD. Yeah.
That's the thing that's so sad is like right at this time that Road Dogg is just. I mean,
he's on fire.
I mean, it's.
At this time?
No. You're right. No, because New Age Outlaws are gone at this point.
Road
But
Dogg
still, like, the second he would pop into an arena, people would blow up because you've got. Because I mean that entrance music alone would always get everybody excited, and the fact is, poor Brad Armstrong just never, sadly had that. But the point being, here's the problem: this short match ends with Berlin going for his reverse. I call it the Ruby Cutter because it's like a bad diamond cutter. He goes,
Ruby cutter. I like it. I like it.
But it's like it's more like he's doing like the RKO version where he's jumping into it, but it's like a reverse neck breaker.
Yeah.
Is instead of a face bump,
You're right.
it's a back bump. But that's savvy Brad Armstrong. What's he do? He holds on to the top rope.
Right.
So Berlin takes a bad back bump. A bad enough back bump that Brad Armstrong just gets a 1, 2, 3,
three
and
count.
that's it.
Fuck it. And there's the wall at ringside who doesn't really get involved yet.
Can I ask you, because I don't remember, who is the Wall?